What do you want to? So it's 1 degree.
Yes. Oh, if you want to speak out. If you want to sit in a good spot, so you can sneak out. I would suggest.
They like get divorced at the start of the film, or somebody like breaks up with them, or the family dies, right? It's the orphan.
Good to see you. I'm taking a video.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody wants to talk to you.
Good counsel. And what we're going to talk about right now, secular or religious spiritualist, but just kind of guidelines to guide our conversation so that they can be productive, they can be helpful, and so that we're prepared to navigate any differences that might come up. Point across it, just make you or tradition. This is something that's very personal experiences. Exactly. You represent your. Okay. Okay.
And ask questions. That's the best way to know what you don't know and what you're trying to understand.
Yeah.
Maybe try to assume that they mean something with a
because there was so much time and didn't know what to do, right? So, and my take on or how my faith influences my art, right? But I do want to put out a disclaimer out there that I am not super religious and I'm not an artist. So whatever, it's going to be superficial talk today. And but I am a Hindu and I paint. So with that, let's start. So growing up, I thought I was not religious, right? My mom used to drag me to temples, sometimes multiple times a week. And we would have to sit down throughout the whole ceremony, the puja, the abhisheka, the whole ceremony, we had to sit down patiently. And all of that was boring, mainly because I did not understand, right, the values of it. And but at the end of the ceremony, there's usually what they call prasad, which is just yummy food, right? And that was the only motivation for me to accompany my mom during all of those visits, right? And then into my teen years, I stopped going to temples with my mom, and I really wanted to believe that I was indifferent to both God and to Hinduism in general, right? But there was one thing that was constant in our household. All celebrations were done in like grand style, right? My mom used to start preparing days ahead for every single festival. So this one I just put it out there as an example. So Diwali, some of you might be familiar with that. It's one of the most prominent festivals of India. And my grandma and my uncles lived very close to us. So festivals always translated to huge family gatherings for us, right? And then all of us cousins would huddle up and draw designs like these, rangolis, what we call, in front of my grandma's huge courtyard. And we would start the night before because it was a huge process, huge deal for us, right? And so, and there's one more festival that I've highlighted here. This is called Pongal, which is a South Indian specific festival. This is sort of like Thanksgiving to sun god for the harvest, right, after the bounty, and giving thanks to the farmers as well, right? And it involves, again, what we call kolam, designs on the floor, on the top left there, and that's usually done with rice paste. And you see that, I don't know if there's a highlighter here. Oh, there you go. That white cloth there, that acts like a sponge, absorbing the paste, and our fingers are the brush, basically. So if you watch keenly, that lady is actually using her fingers to draw the designs, right? And I'm very familiar with this art form as well. And then we used to also paint the pots that the rice go in, because it's auspicious. And then my mom went all the way through, like she should go to the medieval times and use wood like, to cook rice, right? And that's exactly how it was done when I was young. And in the end, this is what we had: carb overload, tons and tons of yummy food, right? So this was done every year. Although I thought I was not religious, I would help my mom with all of these. Like, help her paint, but just because I liked painting back then. I just didn't know I was capable of painting until 2 years back, but kolam was something that was part of my life since I was young. So I was always doing that. And also helping my mom, because otherwise she'd be doing it alone. So that's how festivals were always a part of me, right? So growing up, to me, religion was about festivals, about celebrations, just fun basically, nothing related to spirituality or to God himself for the longest time. But as I grow old, the desire to believe in something beyond self became more and more of a need in my life, right? And I realized that religion is a vehicle to spirituality. And today I practice Hinduism wholeheartedly just because it gives me peace and for no other reason, apparently. And to our children, religion serves as an anchoring point. It provides a sense of belongingness to them and teaches them virtuousness and righteousness until their conscience kicks in, right? And my husband and I, the one thing that we strive to inculcate in our kids is for them to realize that one's conscience is one's true God. Nothing more than that. If they choose to practice Hinduism in their adulthood, that's brownie points for us. Right. So as a mom today, I do all the stuff that my mom did when I was young. I go through painstakingly, I go through all the things that she did when I was young, and I make sure that my kids eat out of a banana leaf at least once a year. And this is from another festival again, Lord Ganesha's birthday, which we call Ganesh Chaturthi. So yeah, there you go. And I'm interested in home decor. This is pictures of my formal room. As you see, religion has a huge influence on my decor style too. I love to dress up my home with in the traditional old world Indian style, right? Which is very familiar and at the same time, a scene from the previous era sort of thing. Well, if you ignore that upright digital piano there. One could argue, or I could argue, that in India, art is religion and religion is art. And I don't mean just Hinduism, right? Any religion, and there has been many religions in India that have left their influence in the country, leaving meaningful footprints, right, through their visual arts. There's so much art, visual arts and dance forms and sculptures, architectural components from different regimes. Hindus, there has been Hindu regimes, there have been Islam regimes, there's been Jainism, there's been Sikhism in India. So we've got all of this culture for the younger generation to cherish, right? So this here is huge Buddha painting in my living room, the most used space in our home. And that is an example of a miniature Mughal painting. Mughal, it's basically a Muslim emperor on top of that elephant there with his guards. My parents have something very similar to this hanging in their living room, right? But does that mean that we are following Islam or Buddhism in our household? No, and that leads to this. Indian art has strong religious influences, yes, but it's equally secular, right? So folk art in India has evolved beyond its religious boundaries and that it was once confined to. And art is increasingly seen just that, for its cultural values and admired for its technicality and aesthetic beauty. So this is my key point for the talk today. As a person of Indian origin, my subconscious mind is able to appreciate and enjoy art from multiple regions, multiple religions, just because how strongly the multicultural history is integrated into our everyday lives. I went to a Christian institution for my undergrad degree. My best friends were Muslims, right? So it happens. It's so much woven into the Indian fabric that it's just how you live. That's a way of life, right? So yeah, that's the take-home point. Now let's actually look at some of the folk art forms that I've been interested in. I've only been mainly focusing on Indian folk arts and not gone or experimented beyond that. But that itself is a huge treasure trove. I've badly scratched the surface of it, right? So here, this is an Indian map, and you see many folk art forms. This is not an extensive list, though. There's just names of some arts from some states here. So let's just look at some of my paintings. I did all of this except
But
for
she's
this
not
one.
an artist.
I'm still learning. So I did 5 of these except this one. This is called Tanjore painting, which is from the southernmost state called Tamil Nadu, which is where my ancestry is in. And that is the one art form that I haven't tried yet, because I don't have the confidence to do such intricate painting. Let me explain some aspects of this. So you see here, this is the embossed part, which is done using some sort of a chalk paste. They first emboss it, and then they do gold gilding, gold leaves on top of it to enhance. And you see the stones here, these are semi-precious stones. I think back then, 7 centuries old, when this painting was in royal palaces, this was, decorated with diamonds, rubies, emeralds. Right now, people are content with semi-precious stones, I guess. And this one is called Madhubani, or Mithila painting, and it's from this state here called Bihar, this one, the northeastern part of India. Very prominent in India, this art form is very prominent. The pigments are derived from naturally available materials, like the yellow color is from turmeric powder, red is extracted from a flower called kusum, is what I read. But this is cheap canvas and cheap acrylic.
I hope you all brought your turmeric.
Right, so, and the beauty of this art is, if you are familiar with mandala or Zentangle, right? So the Madhubani has many geometric patterns, and the primary definition is filling it up with geometric patterns and completely filling it up with geometric patterns and colors, right? There should be no white space. So what we are going to do is a very simplified form of that Madhubani painting today, except there's a lot of white space because I didn't have time to complete it. So this here and this one, these are called Pattachitra paintings. Patta means canvas and Chitra means painting. So it directly translates to canvas painting. And this is from a state called Orissa, which is here, or Odisha, 2 ways to say it. Again, subjects are mainly Lord Krishna and Lord Ganesha, and also there's, again, for Madhubani and for Pattachitra and for the other art forms that I'll be mentioning, some of the common subjects are the fauna and flora, the animals, birds, available and indigenous to that specific region, and along with Hindu deities in most of these art forms. So this is Pattachitra done on canvas. The canvas preparation back then was a huge process. You could go and read about it. It's days-long process where they use some sort of tamarind pulp to prepare the canvas itself, and it's that. And I could talk a lot about these paintings, but let's skip them really quickly and actually get to the painting part. This one's called Kalamkari. This is from Andhra Pradesh, which is from south of India. Again, geometric patterns is another feature for Kalamkari as well. It's usually done on silk cloth. And this one up here is Kerala murals, from a state called Kerala, which is here. As the name suggests, it's done on walls of palaces and temples. And again, pigments are from naturally available elements, even today, I think. And there's only very few colors in this painting, maybe 3, 4, or 5 hues involved in this painting traditionally. I also wanted to put together a roundup of the paintings that I did that I realized today were non-Hindu or non-religious paintings, right? So these are secular tribal art forms, I would say. So this is called Kali Ghat, which is from the eastern India, and usually depicts the lives of tribal people who lived around the Kali temple, or the goddess Durga's temple there in West Bengal. So yes, there's some religious aspect to it, but then the subject matter itself was just the lives of simple people. And this is called Gond painting from Madhya Pradesh, which is central India. And again, a lot of this painting focuses on fauna and flora and not on the idols themselves. This here is Valli, which is also a tribal art form. Again, depicts the life of tribal people. This is from Western India. And again, this is another kolam, is what I said again, I mentioned in the previous slides. Very, very prominent in South India. Even today, you go there, you'd see all the doorsteps done every morning with new designs. So that's done with rice flour, which serves as food for insects and small creatures, right? So, and this is again a simplified form of Madhubani without the deities themselves. And so I'm so thankful to be living in this time, in this connected world where, you know, we have so much positivity in social media. Well, you take only the positivity from the social media, right? And inspiration. So these are from, well, I painted these, but then inspiration is from contemporary artists in current day social media, right? It's just huge. Like, they give a modern twist to age-old painting forms, and in ways I feel that they are sort of reviving or resuscitating some of the dying art forms, breathing new air into them, sort of quietly leading a renaissance, you know, in many ways. So I follow many of these, and these are just copycats of some of my favorite artists.
Is that the woman from the film? Is that the film? Is there a film that is based on this woman, or no?
No, this is based on a digital calendar called Illustrations of India or something, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I have to give credit where credit's due. A lot of the artists that I follow. What else do I have? That's it. Let's paint.
And they should also pick up the supplies they need.
Mm-hmm.
And
so this is what you are going to be painting today.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose to either use acrylic paints. I have brushes, I have paints. I also have the blues and the yellows. This is actually a tribute to Ukraine. I've never done blue and yellow. So if you want to go with this exact colors, those colors are in that table, but creativity has no limit. If you want to try other colors, I have a whole bunch of acrylic paints here that you can take and use them. Alternatively, if you do not want to paint, I also have markers. I have got thick markers that will do very well actually, and you know, gives you more control that way. So feel free to help yourself with the material.
Awesome. And then the folks that look like me, they have these polos on. There are other Interfaith Student Council members, and they have some questions at the table, and they're going to lead you through some of those conversations. But we're going to start with, yes, hand.
The artist that you
Social media followers. Yeah. Perfect. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Can I just ask a question really quick?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But predominant colors are usually earthy tones, hues of reds and you know, ochre, yellow, and sort of those. In my palette, I use a lot of reds and yellows. I've never gone towards the cooler shades just because that's my personal preference. But yes, there are some definitions, like as I was talking when I was talking about the Kerala mural, there's only like 5 colors they actually use. So if you want to stick to the traditional, you know, boundaries, then yes, you would just use those 5 colors. But you don't have to stick to those colors.
That's a good question. So we're gonna. As an interfaith leader, I moved here to Salt Lake blind, totally didn't know anyone here, didn't know anything, just moved here in July of 2013. And as an interfaith symbol, my horn blowing guy. It took for simplified. Does anybody is particularly fond of that? Is really meaning.
I found it really, that symbol came from,
Oh, cool.
of the symbol that I have.
See, like, yeah.